Visited the Marseille cemetery where more than 1,000 Indian soldiers who fought in World War I and World War II have been buried. They also visited the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor, which is the world's first nuclear fusion reactor at scale. While there have been a series of announcements from drones to defense to submarines, all eyes are now on the second leg of Prime Minister Modi's visit when he calls on US President Donald Trump at the White House tomorrow. But first, we'll analyze and look at what happened when Modi met Macron in France. When Prime Minister Modi touched down in Marseille after his Paris leg, he paid a special tribute to Veer Savarkar. The reference made by Prime Minister Modi underscored India's historic connection to the port city of Marseille, which dates back to 1910. Back in 1910, Veer Savarkar had attempted a daring escape from British custody while he was being transported to India to face trial for his revolutionary activities. Savarkar, who had been arrested in London, was on board the British ship SS Morea when it docked in Marseille. He slipped through a pothole and swam to shore, seeking asylum in France. However, he was captured by the French authorities and he was handed back to the British. This incident sparked off a diplomatic dispute between Britain and France, and the French activists and leaders protested the action that was taken by British forces on French soil. The case, in fact, went all the way up to the Permanent Court of Arbitration at The Hague in the Netherlands, which acknowledged that an irregularity had happened in the manner in which Savarkar was arrested, but it went on to say that the British government was not obligated to return his custody to France. So Savarkar was eventually sent back to British custody. He was imprisoned in the cellular jail in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, also known as Kala Pani. So that incident in 1910 happened in Marseille, and the Prime Minister made it a point to remark upon it when he touched down in the southern French city. So Prime Minister Modi and the French President Macron honored the Indian soldiers at the Marseille War Cemetery in Marseille. This memorial commemorates Indian soldiers who died fighting in various campaigns during World War I and World War II. Over 1,000 Indian soldiers participated in World War I and they were cremated at the Marseille War Cemetery. Approximately 1.3 million Indian soldiers served during World War I as part of the Allied powers against Germany. In 1914, the Indian Army Corps played a crucial role in halting the German advance towards the ports on the western front of France, and Marseille served as a base for the Indian troops who were stationed in France. This cemetery in Marseille is the second largest commemorative site looking at the bravery and the martyrdom of Indian soldiers following the Neuve Chapelle War Memorial, which is in northern France. But Marseille has a significance beyond the historical connection, which is why we saw the Indian government open a consulate there, both Prime Minister Modi and President Macron jointly inaugurating the new Indian consulate in the southern city of Marseille. The port of Marseille 4 is the biggest port in France, and it is the third biggest in the entire Mediterranean. Marseille has huge strategic value and importance. It is strategically located on the Mediterranean coast, and that makes it a key gateway for trade between India and France, and in fact between India and all of Western Europe. So far, no other foreign country has a role or presence on the port of Marseille 4. The southern French city is among the entry points for the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor, or IMEC. Mumbai and Marseille will be the two ends of that corridor as it starts from India and hopes to go all the way to Western Europe.
As I told you, now we have already reformed in our policies. We are going to open up, and we will give some financial facilities also.
But the objective for you is to create industrial jobs and
to build the ships.
Manufacturing capacity.
And for the containers, of course, we have a shipbreaking yard. So you can get very good raw material from the shipbreaking yard. And out of that you can build, manufacture containers.
We see the relevance of the IMEC
yes,
project.
IMEC, yes.
And I think what's
this
important...
is the entry point of the Europe.
Exactly, and Marseille could be clearly the entry point of the whole European market. And Marseille, and this is what we are working on.
So Prime Minister Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron toured the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor in southern France. It is a multinational nuclear fusion project which involves more than 30 countries, including India and France. The ITER's primary goal is to investigate and demonstrate burning plasmas, where the energy that's produced by the plasma through a nuclear fusion reaction sustains the life of the plasma's temperature. It aims to bridge the gap between what is small-scale experimental fusion devices and to bring to bear nuclear fusion at industrial scale. It will test technologies like superconducting magnets, remote maintenance, and systems to generate power from within the heat generated in the plasma without any external heat source. Both India and France are key partners in this project. It's nicknamed the Mini Sun because the sun also uses nuclear fusion to generate its energy. But it brings together not just India and France. There are 30 plus countries who are involved in the ITER project. China, rest of the countries of Western Europe, Japan, Korea, Russia, and the United States as well. So why is the ITER project so different from any other nuclear cooperation project, whether between India and France or between India and any other Western country? ITER uses the nuclear fusion technology. Now, fusion means it fuses together light atoms or the nuclei of light atoms like hydrogen isotopes at extremely high temperatures. When that fusion happens, it releases energy. This is the same process which powers the sun and the stars. It's nuclear fusion that they're able to generate their heat and light from. This technology offers the potential for cleaner, safer, and almost limitless energy source compared to nuclear fission, which is what we have all the civilian nuclear reactors around the world. They are based on nuclear fission technology. Well, fusion, unlike fission, does not produce greenhouse gases. It contributes to a carbon-free energy supply, and that is why it is significantly different, not just from the almost inordinate amount of energy that fusion can produce. Also, fusion reactors, unlike fission reactors, are inherently safe because they require precise conditions to be maintained. If those conditions of heat and thermal energy is not maintained, fusion will not happen. It also produces significantly less radioactive waste compared to fission. There have been numerous fission reactor accidents, from Fukushima in Japan to Chernobyl in Russia. But this is what the Prime Minister and the President had to say while they toured the ITER facility in southern France.
After successfully concluding Artificial Intelligence Action Summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Macron held extensive talks on board in presidential plane of Emmanuel Macron from Paris to Marseille. Later, both leaders continued conversation during working dinner. This is the first time India discussed IMAC so extensively with any country since its announcement. Before this, there were few agreements signed with UAE. IMAC project was often criticized for getting delayed due to conflict in Middle East and various other factors. But the powerful footage of Prime Minister Modi and President Macron discussing IMAC became the highlight of this visit. PM Modi and President Macron, both leaders, discussed their ideas, preparations to move goods and commerce from one part of this corridor to the other part. Other than this, 10 MOUs have been signed between both sides, 3 in the field of nuclear energy and 4 in the field of information technology. India and France have also announced declaration on artificial intelligence. As far as defense collaboration is concerned, both leaders commended progress in collaboration in construction of Scorpion submarine in India, including indigenization and in particular the work carried out with a view to the integration of DRDO developed air-independent propulsion into P-75 Scorpion submarine. Top of all this, Prime Minister Modi also invited the French army to take a closer look at the Pinaka MBLR, emphasizing that an acquisition of this system by France would be another milestone in Indo-French defense ties. Both leaders also discussed regional and global issues. Nuclear energy dominated the agenda. MOU signed for cooperation in developing small advanced its reactors, as it was much anticipated after recent announcement of India's vision for nuclear energy in Union Budget. Also, Prime Minister Modi visited ITER, which is International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor site, with President Macron, which again reaffirmed India-France cooperation in the field of nuclear fusion. India is a part of ITER grouping since 2006.
All right, let's move on to the second big story we're focusing on, brass tacks tonight. The growing trend of offering freebies or ravedees as well as cash handouts by politicians cutting across the party lines has sparked a nationwide debate. It's now been brought back in focus by the Supreme Court when it used some very harsh words indeed to denounce what it called a freebie culture. The bench asked, instead of bringing people into the mainstream for national development, are we not creating a class of parasites? Coming down quite heavily on governments, both state and centre, and political parties cutting across the spectrum, announcing freebies ahead of elections, the court today said that it is disincentivizing people from working hard. And in states like Maharashtra, the court said it is drying up the labour force. During the hearing of a PIL seeking shelter for the urban homeless in Delhi, Justice B.R. Gavai, who's incidentally going to be the next Chief Justice of India, not only deprecated this distribution of freebies, but he also remarked that it would be better if the homeless are sought to be integrated into the mainstream of society so that they can contribute to nation building. So are these freebies bleeding the exchequer, and is it time to do away with them? Let's put some facts out there for your consideration before we get to our political spokespersons on the debate tonight. The Congress government in Karnataka, which promised 5 guarantees in the state, and the Siddaramaiah government has spent almost 63,000 crores so far just on meeting these freebies, on being able to meet these guarantees, currently is facing a revenue outstanding liability of more than 7 lakh crores. Himachal Pradesh, yet another Congress-ruled state, it promised to fulfill 10 guarantees. Currently, it's facing an outstanding liability of more than 1 lakh crores. In Telangana, the Revant Reddy-led government promised 6 guarantees in the state. They won the election, but so far, the state of Telangana has spent more than 53,000 crores to fulfill its promises, and it's currently dealing with an outstanding liability of more than 4 lakh crores. As per a recent CAG report, Maharashtra's outstanding liabilities are at over 6.5 lakh crores. That is almost 18% of the gross state domestic product of the state as of 22-23, of which 80%, which is more than 5 lakhs, is just public debt. It is just paying the interest off on public debt. And here too, in the recently held elections, the NDA government promised 10 such guarantees. Punjab is another state that is reeling under mounting public debt, almost to the tune of 3.5 lakh crores, constituting almost 50% of the state's income as per 23-24 figures. And in the current year, the outstanding debt as a percentage of GSDP is projected to be 44%, nearly half of the state's gross domestic product. So, is this a sustainable culture? Is it time to put an end to ravedees? Certainly, the Supreme Court of India seems to think so. Sanju Verma is National Spokesperson of the BJP. Sulaiman Khan, National Spokesperson of the Congress Party, joining us. Sanju Verma, let me start with you. This is what the court said. People are unwilling to work because of freebies. People are getting free ration without any work. Must make people part of mainstream society. Permit people to contribute to nation's development. Otherwise, we are encouraging a freebie culture. How do you respond to this?
You know, Zakka, first and foremost, let's get one thing very clear, that over the course of the last 10 or 11 odd years, the Supreme Court itself has had varying opinions on this highly controversial issue of freebies versus welfareism. Way back in 2013, in the famous case of Balaji Subramaniam versus the state of Tamil Nadu, the Supreme Court clearly said that India is a welfare state and freebies cannot be penalized because under Article 44 of Directive Principles of the State Policy, the central government and state governments are committed to ensuring that welfareism is effected. And then again in 2022, a 2-judge bench of the Supreme Court, Justice C.T. Ravikumar and Justice Hima Kohli, said that freebies/welfareism is a debate that will go on, but they made one very interesting point. Justice C.T. Ravikumar said that under the Representation of People Act, he named Section 123. Under Section 123 of the RPA, welfareism is something that the state has to carry out, even if it is not mentioned explicitly. So, in a way, Justice C.T. Ravi Kumar was actually endorsing the concept of welfareism. I'm not saying he endorsed the concept of freebies, but like I said, freebies versus welfareism is a heated debate and has not yet reached a fruition in terms of what will finally prevail.
No, but ma'am, the
Supreme
BJP
Court
itself makes that distinction between welfareism and freebies. I don't think the court today opined on welfareism. The court is not saying do away with PDS or do away with, fuel subsidies or food subsidies. But what the court is opining, and I want to take the example of the state that you hail from Maharashtra, which is the most prosperous state in the country, the state which has the highest GSDP in the country, the state which pays the highest taxes in the country, 6.61 lakh crore, or almost 20% of the state GSDP is the total outstanding public debt, of which over 5 lakh crores is going just for facilitating interest payments on this outstanding debt. Which is, this by the way is the richest state in the country. I'm not even getting into the poorest states.
Zakka, let's be very clear. Since you mentioned Maharashtra, let me give you some numbers. I always say that when you're talking of numbers, it's better to speak of averages rather than picking out one particular year. Maharashtra has a GSDP of around 43 to 44 lakh crore. The annual debt has been in the region of 5.5 to 6 lakh crore. The outstanding liabilities have been in the region of 4 to 5 lakh crore, which means outstanding liabilities as a percentage of Maharashtra's GDP and debt as a percentage of Maharashtra's GDP has always been in the region of 13 to 18%, whereas economists of every hue from the right side and from the left side will say that in a developing country like India, even in developed countries, unless you cross that inflection point of 39 or 40 or 41% in terms of debt to GDP, there is no reason to worry. And don't forget that in Maharashtra, you have the annual budgetary outlay of 8 lakh crore. The Ladki Bahin scheme, which the Supreme Court spoke of, the annual expenditure on behalf of Ladki Bahin Yojana is 18,000 crore, which means as a percentage of annual budgetary outlay, the Maharashtra government has been spending only 2.25%. 2.25% of Maharashtra's annual budgetary outlay is being spent on a welfare scheme like Ladki Majhi Ladki Bahin Yojana. So I don't understand why the brouhaha is there. And compare that with something like, just 10 seconds, compare that with something like a Tamil Nadu, where the GSDP of the state is 28 lakh crore. But guess what? The annual revenues are only 2.3 lakh crore, but the annual expenditure is 4.5 lakh crore. So you have a deficit of 2 lakh crore. That is what this Supreme Court should have focused on.
So let me ask Sulaiman Khan of the Congress Party in Karnataka, where you started this whole business of guarantees from. In the last 2 years, the Siddaramaiah government has spent more than 60,000 crores just to meet these guarantees. The total outstanding liabilities of the state are more than 10 times that, 7.25 lakh crore. In Telangana, where again you contested the election with these 6 guarantees, won the election with the 6 guarantees, the total amount spent on meeting these 6 guarantees is 53,000 crores. Total outstanding liabilities is close to 4.5 lakh crores. I mean, the point, Mr. Khan, is this is unsustainable. The Supreme Court seems to realize it. Why are our political parties not realizing it?
Zakka, first of all, you must also tell the data of the states which are, specifically ruled by BJP, like Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, other states. You're just telling about Karnataka, Telangana,
No, I gave the data of Maharashtra. I gave the data of Maharashtra.
Okay. Thank you very much for giving the data of Maharashtra. You are telling Himachal is reeling in the data of 1 lakh, Karnataka 2 lakh. First of all, to reply to this, I think it is better to give this freebies than to waive off the corporate loans, the subsidies, the corporate tax cut, the loan write-offs, which has been given to the big corporates. I think people need this. And to the suggestion or the criticism of the Supreme Court that these freebies are making people, not to work. The question is, why the freebies? Freebies is actually a direct, it tells you that there's an economic policy of the country is flawed. It's the result of the flawed economic policy of the Modi government. It has actually devastated and destroyed the medium and small enterprises, which have given majority of the jobs in the country.
No, Mr.
Because of
Mr.
the flawed
Khan,
economic
Mr. Khan,
policy, these-
the import of what the court is saying
No, Zakka,
is,
when
by,
you
no, no,
were-
by giving
when you
these
were-
freebies,
when you were-
by giving
when
these
you were-
freebies,
when you were-
you
listen
are
to me,
creating
listen to me.
a class of
Listen to me.
parasites.
When
That's what the Supreme Court has said.
Zakka, when you were speaking, I was listening to you. Either listen to me or you keep on speaking. So I
Sir?
was just replying and just put 30 seconds. I'm just saying freebies is a result of the failure of the economic policy of the government. That is what I am saying. Because of the flawed economic policy of the central government.
So you agree with the
Let me-
Supreme Court's assessment that
Please.
freebies are creating a parasite class, that people are
Why
feeding
should I
off
comment?
these?
No, I am not.
No, that's what the
Why
court
should
has
I
said.
comment?
No.
No. Oh, sir, there is no fight with the Supreme Court. I am saying BJP has a flawed policy. Because of the flawed policy, people are not having money. They are not having jobs. You have destroyed the small and medium enterprises.
Sir, the
It's better to give
purpose
freebies.
the
So
purpose
saying
of
that I am
the
giving
purpose
ration to
of
80 crore
government, the
people.
purpose
Why
of
is giving
welfare
ration to 80
state
crore
is to
people?
give a cushion to people, not to give them
Sir.
out a dole that the court now says that we are creating a class
So
of
what do you want?
parasites.
Okay.
What did the
Okay,
LNT
so
CEO?
you-
One second.
Okay.
One second, sir.
Okay,
One
so-
second. Please hear me. 10
Okay,
seconds.
sir.
Please,
So-
please hear me out
so
for
you
10
are
seconds.
saying we stop
What
the
did the
freebies.
what did the
You want to stop
LNT?
the
What did the
freebies?
sir,
You want
sir,
loans
please,
to
sir,
be
please,
written off?
Mr. Khan, please. Let's have a conversation. The
No, you-
LNT
have you
CEO,
ever questioned the right of loans to the corporates?
one of the biggest
15 or 20
construction
lakh crores of
conglomerates
the
in
loans
this
to the
country.
big industrialists.
No,
Have you
sir,
ever questioned?
Sir, one second. Hear
I'm
me out.
asking
Hear me
you,
out.
have you
The
ever
LNT
questioned
CEO
the write-offs
said
of the
exactly
loans to
what the
corporates,
court today said.
The industrialists.
Sir, if both of us are going to talk, none of
Answer
us
my
is
question.
going to be able to hear what the other is saying. Let's not have this
15
pointless.
to 20
No,
lakh
let's not have this
crores of
pointless
loans have
tutu
been
meme.
written off by Modi
Mr. Khan,
government. Have
Mr.
you
Khan,
ever
please, I'm
questioned it?
requesting you.
No,
Please
I'm
listen to me for 10
asking
seconds.
a question.
Please
answer
listen to me for 10
Then you
seconds.
question us.
अरे खान साहब
No, give me
10
some
सेकंड के लिए तो सुन तो लो 10 seconds.
नहीं, आप मुझे भी
What
सुन
the
सकते हो।
LNT CEO,
आपके कभी उद्योगपतियों
what the
के लोन
LNT
जो माफ हुए
CEO
हैं,
said
right of
yesterday
उस पे सवाल
is
उठाया।
we are creating a class of people who do not want to work from office, who are happy to live off these doles, who do not want to move cities. This he said yesterday. Today the Supreme Court is echoing exactly the same thing that the LNT CEO said, that why are we creating a class of parasites by giving out free? Everything is free, 2,500 rupees free, bus free, this free, that free. The point is, this is creating a class of people in this country who want to be unproductive. And that is a problem. No policy can fix an unproductive population. And that's what this Revdi culture is doing.
You are right. I am asking
You know,
a
he's
question.
had his say.
The
He's been
enthusiasm-
saying-
No, one second, let him
the
finish.
enthusiasm you are raising these questions. Have you ever raised the question of Modi ji waiving off, writing off loans to 15 to 20 lakh crores of the industrialists?
Sir, but
With
how
this
does that
enthusiasm,
create an
have you ever
unproductive
questioned-
population?
Oh, sir.
Can I please come
Don't
in?
just spin it. Don't spin it. I am saying this is the result of the flawed economic policy of the Modi government.
Okay,
On one hand,
Sanju
you are
Verma,
doing
flawed
the
economic policy of the Modi
on the other
government.
hand, you are
Corporates are
writing
getting
off
lakhs
most
of crores
them.
of write-offs or write-downs, but you have a problem
That
with
is
Revdi
important.
culture. By the way,
You
Sanju
don't
Verma's
think
party
like-
is also, hand in glove in this, by the way. Anyway, Sanju.
Who? Who is having
Let me now come in. I heard the Congress. Please, I heard you, Mr. Suleiman.
But Zakka,
let me
you
make
have
one
been
Sanju Verma.
Can I
interrupting me
please
again
come
Only
in?
Sanju Verma, please,
You
I have to wrap up in a minute.
What
Yeah,
is
Sanju
this?
Verma. Yeah.
Thank you. Can I please make one thing very clear? There is a very thin line between freebies and welfareism. But where Narendra Modi government scores is that today more than 40 lakh crore has been given via the direct benefit transfer scheme. But because there's no pilferage, because middlemen have been rooted out, annual savings of the Modi government due to the DBT is 4 lakh crore. That is being recycled and redeployed to work for the poor. Look at Ayushman Bharat scheme. Ayushman Bharat scheme, more than 36 crore Ayushman cards have been distributed to the poorest of the poor. The annual savings to the Modi government on behalf of Ayushman Bharat is 75,000 crore. That money is being deployed to give medicines at a cost which is cheaper by 50 to 70% via Jan Aushadhi Kendras. So the Modi government is not necessarily going out of pocket to help the poor and the marginalized. Then
Okay.
look at the Pradhan Mantri Surya Ghar Bijli Yojana Zakka, which was launched last year. Because we are encouraging the use of solar power panels, we've been able to give electricity at 40% subsidized cost. And the Modi government has been saving annually 55,000 crore, which is again being funneled back to help the poor.
Okay.
In the case of Himachal Pradesh, 1 minute, Mr. Suleiman, Himachal Pradesh is borrowing 30,000 crore every quarter, Karnataka is borrowing 45,000 crore every quarter to simply stay afloat. Go and check the RBI data.
I have to wrap up.
RBI.
I hope that our political class, and like I said, all parties are guilty in this, whether you're BJP, Congress, Aam Aadmi Party, all of them have created this whole Revdi culture, which, as the court says, is creating a class of parasitic citizens who are just happy to depend on these doles and do not want to work, and that's creating an unproductive class of workforce. But we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much to both the spokespersons. I want to move to a piece of breaking news that's just coming through after the whole controversy around comedian Samay Raina and Ranveer Alabadia. Now, for the first time, Samay Raina has broken his silence after this controversy about the comments that were made by Ranveer Alabadia on his show, India's Got Latent. He's taken to social media and said that everything that is happening has been too much for him to handle. He has removed all of India's Got Latent videos from his channel. His only objective was to make people laugh and have a good time. I will fully cooperate with all the agencies to ensure that their inquiries are conducted fairly. Mayresh has more details on this. So Mayresh, finally, Samay Raina has also put out an apology, and he's also said that he's removing all the videos from India's Got Latent.
Absolutely, Zakka. That's the first reaction we are getting from the Samay Raina, where he has tendered his apology and he has explained that his only aim was to basically make people laugh. But what is more important, that the cyber security, which has filed an FIR in this matter in Mumbai, they are not only investigating that particular episode where the Ranveer Alabadia used that foul language, but they are going to investigate and scrutinize all those episodes. And that's why somewhere Samay Raina has said that I have pulled down all those episodes which have got aired. If I'm not wrong, there were some 6 or 7 episodes which have been aired so far on the social networking website YouTube. What is more important, that from tomorrow we are expecting that the 30 people who have been mentioned or against whom the FIR was lodged, Mumbai police have, I beg your pardon, the cybersecurity have asked them to come and record their statements. So we are expecting that from tomorrow, all these panelists who were part of this particular show will start coming at the cybersecurity office in World Trade Center, and they will start recording their statements.
So, Mayresh, very quickly, so has Ranveer been questioned? I believe the Mumbai police team had reached out to his place. They got there today. Has he recorded his statement? And also, what's the update on Samay? I believe he was on a tour to the US. He had asked for extended time. Do we know when he's like to also record his statement before the Mumbai police?
So Samay's lawyer basically today reached at the Khar police station, and she had basically told Mumbai police that Samay is out of India and he is on a US tour, and he'll be coming back post 17th of March, and then he will come and join the probe. And also for the Ranveer Alabadia, he's yet to record his statement in a written complaint issue at Khar police station, but we are expecting that as FIR has been lodged and his name is there in FIR, so he is likely to join the probe from tomorrow at World Trade Center, where the cybersecurity office is situated.
All right, Mayresh, we'll leave it at that. So both the people in the eye of the storm, both on Ranveer Alabadia a couple of days ago and now Samay Raina, both have apologized. But this controversy seems to be far from settling down. Let's move on to the next segment. And the Bangalore Metro Rail Corporation has increased metro fares in Bangalore by 50% last week. These were following recommendations of what's called the Fare Fixation Committee. Effective 9th of February, the hike has drawn criticism from the public as well as opposition leaders. It's also made the Bangalore Metro the most expensive public transportation system in the country. Following the revision, the lowest fare remains at 10 rupees. The maximum fare has been increased from 60 to 90 rupees. Additionally, the minimum balance that's required on these smart cards to use the metro has also been increased to 90 rupees. The sharp increase in metro fare prices have sparked widespread outrage and almost immediately decreased footfall. In fact, the city saw in just one day a 4% decline in the number of metro passengers. The BMRCL, which runs the metro, it's a joint venture between the centre and the state, they have put out a statement saying that they had no option but to raise the fares because fares had not been raised for a good 5 or 6 years now. But is the politics on this, the back and forth between the Congress and the BJP on this, valid? Right, so Bengaluru Metro charges going up by 50%. That is the charge, the political charge from the BJP. How does it compare with other cities? And more importantly, is all of this because the Congress government under Siddaramaiah is finding it difficult to meet its guarantees, meet the promised freebies to the electorate, and therefore they're having to raise prices. Let me go across to our political face-off tonight. Bhavya Narasimhamurthy is spokesperson of the Karnataka Congress. Bhaskar Rao, spokesperson of the Karnataka BJP, joining us. Bhavya, let me start with you first. It's not just metro fees. The BJP is alleging property registration fees under Mr. Siddaramaiah gone up by 600%. Property guidance values gone up by 30%. Vehicle registration fees gone up by 10%. Hospital service charges gone up by 5%. State-run college fees gone up by 10%. They are saying that all of this is because you're not able to meet the funds required to guarantee your guarantees or implement your guarantees. That's why you're increasing prices left, right and center.
Let's first talk about the topic of today, metro price hike. The ticket price hike for all the passengers traveling by metro. Metro is controlled by the Metro Act 2002 and completely, so BMRCL is run 50% share is from union and 50% share is from state. And BMRCL, there was no hike since 2017. There was no hike made in the ticket prices. And BMRCL wrote to union government first, asking to revise the price. Then the union government under Narendra Modi set up a committee to look into the issue, which has suggested the price hike. What is the role of state here? And BMRCL is an independent body. Why is BJP diverting the issue like this and blaming Congress instead of actually understanding who is responsible behind this? The committee which suggested the hike was set up by the union government.
Okay.
And the secretary there is posted, the IAS officer, the officer is a union government secretary. The act was done in parliament and even the it comes under that, and it's an independent body. Why are people even blaming Karnataka government, the state government? Anywhere the metro, all Delhi, Mumbai, Karnataka, all metros come under the Metro Rail Act.
Okay.
There is no connection between the state government and the metro here, BMRCL.
Let me ask.
The way these BJP people are misleading the people with giving this misinformation is really sad.
Let me ask Mr. Rao. Let me ask Mr. Rao. BMRCL is a joint venture between centre and state. What Bhavya Narasimhamurthy is saying and the Congress party is saying is that it is the centre that raised the prices. Let's look at the fares in most major cities across the country. Bengaluru, minimum price is 10, maximum at 60. Mumbai, minimum price is 10, maximum is at 80. Delhi, minimum price is 10, maximum price is at 60. Kolkata, minimum price is 5, maximum price is at 50. And Kochi, again, minimum price is at 10, maximum price is at 60. So it's no more than what you're seeing in any of the other metros, and also this charge that BMRCL ultimately is controlled by the central government, and therefore the central government decided to hike the metro charges. Please respond.
Please separate the understanding of how metro is functioning. Bhavya began very well by mentioning that the metro is run on the Metro Act. Yes, she is right. But please also see section 34, 35, 36 and 37 of the Metro Act, which mentions about the fare fixation and the tariff of metro. Yes, she is right. The state government wrote to the centre to seek a hike of metro tariff. And the metro...
Not the state government, BMRCL wrote.
Please allow
not state government.
No, 1 second, Bhavya. Let him finish, please. Bhavya, come on. No, Bhavya.
BMRCL wrote to union government, not state government.
Bhavya, please, let him finish. I'll come back to you. Yeah.
Okay.
And the centre in its wisdom appointed a chairman, and there is a chairman or a chairwoman who is the head of the committee,
yes,
from Chennai, and the centre's representative is the managing director himself, and then the state has nominated one person by name Ramana Reddy, who is a former IAS officer. So
yes,
these three have deliberated, visited some metros, etc., and have recommended this. But you must also mention, I'm coming to Bhavya's rescue here, saying that whatever this committee says is binding on BMRCL. There is no role of central government, there is no role of state government also in this matter. Okay.
Then why are you blaming state government?
Allow me to complete. No, allow me to complete.
Yeah.
But the people of Karnataka are the sufferers. See, the Metro Act has been very cleverly drafted to ensure that this kind of war doesn't take place, and it is by force, it becomes cooperative effort rather than a confrontation. Here, two members of parliament, PC Mohan ji as well as Tejasvi Surya, have already impressed upon the authorities that please prevail and intervene. Though we know that by virtue of section 37 of the Metro Act, it is binding upon BMRCL to accept the fare hike over there. This means there is somebody still above this who can bring about a change. Siddaramaiah may or may not have the powers to increase or reduce, but definitely as the owner of the rolling stock of Metro, he can definitely impress upon the center that look, please reduce the fare. Even if you don't do that, and if you engage yourself in small time war of it is yours, not mine, it is yours, not, that is not fair. See, the people of Karnataka, people of Bangalore are traveling. Two MPs of Bangalore, BJP, they have already done it. So nothing prohibits the chief minister or some senior representative of Karnataka government to impress upon the center.
But Bhavya, metro fares is just one part of it. I'm coming to, power tariff was increased by almost 3 rupees per unit. Stamp duty was increased by more than 200%. Excise duty on liquor brands has been increased between 10 and 20%. Nandini milk prices have been increased by 2 rupees. Government hospital user fee charges have been increased. I mean, a whole bunch of price increases have happened. Why are you increasing prices? Because the treasury is empty, because you don't have money to fund your programs, your guarantees. That's why you're having to increase prices.
Didn't all of this price hike happen during BJP at all? Just because we are giving guarantee schemes, you want to blame every price hike and blame the guarantees. Please open up all the BJP ruled states, including Karnataka's term where BJP was in power, and please tell me if there was no hike in price at all in any of that you're talking about.
No, but in the 2023 election, ma'am, in the 2023 election, you fought saying you'll bring down prices. Now the opposite is happening.
Our 2023 elections was purely fought on 3 issues. Yes, one was the price, the inflation.
Yes.
Wait, let me just finish. 2 was our guarantee schemes. 3 was the corrupt BJP government we wanted to bring down. Right? Now, the most important, commodities, the essential commodities that reaches the poorest of the poor is not the stamp duty. It is the gas cylinders, LPG gas.
Ma'am, Nandini, milk is consumed by poor people.
Let me just finish.
Government hospital
Nandini
user charges is being paid by poor people.
One minute. Okay,
Your state-run college fees is given by poor people. Two-wheeler registration is done by poor people. Come on, please.
Case by case.
No.
Let me
I have to.
No, you have to give me time.
No. I have to take the final word. No.
Nandini, no, you have to give me time. No.
Ma'am, I'm running out of. I'm running out of time. Bhaskar Rao, point is,
not acceptable.
cylinder prices were increased when you were also in power. Why are you just blaming Bhavya and Mr. Siddaramaiah for that?
It is no secret that the present Congress government is in economic doldrums, which we saw that it had put up a revenue deficit budget. Now we are anxiously awaiting the next budget to see whether it has got any money for capex. They have absolutely no idea to spend money on capex because all these guarantees are draining them. They are completely making them dry and they are not able to fulfill the guarantees also, and they have taken it upon themselves to finance these guarantees by promising them sun and the moon during elections. And it is only solely because of the guarantees these people came to power.
No, but Mr. Rao, when you didn't give any guarantees, you also increased cylinder prices to 1100 rupees, petrol was at 100 rupees. Why? What were you increasing for? You were not giving any guarantees.
We are talking about the metro price as well as the guarantees of this government over there. So, when the economics of the government itself is in such a doldrums over there, and of course, when you talk about this present fare hike of metro, they have no much control on this one. In fact, the state government, who is the owner of metro, they end up paying about 150 to 200 crores to support the metro. It is there. They are obliged to do it.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Bhavya Narasimhamurthy and Bhaskar Rao, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see how this story plays out in Bengaluru and whether or not the Union Urban Development Ministry, which is the nodal authority for the metro. Yesterday, I think Mr. Surya, the Bangalore South MP, had met with the minister, Mr. Khattar, and whether or not the central government will bring down the prices, the charges of metro in Bengaluru, we'll wait and see. Thank you very much for joining us. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's upcoming meeting with US President Donald Trump at the White House on 13th of February comes amid high-stakes discussions on trade, strategic partnership, and of course, a geopolitical realignment. The visit follows Trump's renewed focus on trade deficits and aggressive tariff policies. That creates both challenges and opportunities for the India-US bilateral relationship. Trump has already imposed tariffs on Canada and Mexico, which he's put on a pause for a month upon assurance that both these countries will meet his demands. He's got two demands, one to counter illegal fentanyl and the other to counter illegal immigrants. He's also hit China with tariffs and is threatening to do the same with Europe. So how does India navigate this new trade paradigm under Trump 2.0? Trade deficit reduction seems to be dominating Trump's agenda. He's pushing to narrow America's $26 billion trade gap with India. The White House is seeking increased Indian purchases of US-made security equipment. He also wants increased energy imports by India from the United States. Trump has made it very clear after his phone call with Modi last month that he wants India to purchase more American weapons. The F-35 fifth-generation fighter jet could be on India's shopping list. India also recently reduced customs duties on select imports, favoring US products and also signaling an openness to amend the country's nuclear liability laws. In fact, the previous National Security Advisor under Biden, Jake Sullivan, was in India back in January when he lifted 3 Indian entities from the blacklist of nuclear tech transfer in the civilian nuclear space. Immigration management is, of course, a top agenda for Trump. He raised illegal migrants' concerns with his Indian negotiators. India has committed to repatriating undocumented migrants who have been identified as Indian citizens. In fact, Foreign Minister Jaishankar, who was on a visit to Washington last month to attend Trump's inauguration, has said that India would welcome any Indian citizen provided he or she can provide necessary papers. A first flight carrying Indian illegals already arrived from San Antonio in Texas to Amritsar. Defense cooperation will focus on advancing the critical and emerging technologies ISET, which was something that was announced a few years ago. It is an NSA-level dialogue, an initiative for critical emerging technologies, and also expanding the Quad, which had been elevated to the ministerial level under Trump and to the heads of government level under Biden. The United States aims to ease defense export controls, which are conditional on India buying more American weapons. Energy security discussions will also be expanded as US oil and gas exports and potential nuclear power collaboration with India will be on the anvil. India's recent $60 billion energy import commitment provides some negotiation leverage when Modi meets Trump. But the unpredictability of Trump is going to shake the very underlying stability of the relationship. Trump's threat of 100% tariffs against BRICS countries who are seeking dollar alternatives is a big one that India needs to consider. India, by being part of BRICS, willy-nilly could attract Trump's anger. But his threat against BRICS faces implementation hurdles. Currently, there is no BRICS currency yet, and making any kind of immediate sanctions on a non-existent currency is unlikely. India's BRICS participation also focuses more on multipolarity rather than trying to displace the dollar. In fact, the Indian rupee is not even among the top 5 most traded currencies in the world. And then there is a great degree of US-India trade interdependence. More than $90 billion of bilateral trade in the first 9 months of 24-25. That hems in together both countries. Yet it is in this very same trade of $90 billion plus, which by the end of the financial year could top $120 billion, it is in this trade that Trump would try and seek the most amount of concessions. The US could target some of the high-value Indian exports if the trade talks were to falter. Petroleum products constitute the biggest export to America. In the year 24-25, it was close to $18 billion plus, making up about 30% of India's exports to the United States. Drug formulations are the second biggest export to the US, particularly for the manufacture of cheap generic drugs to the tune of almost $8 billion. That is 40% of India's trade to the United States. And of course, there is also gems, jewelry, particularly in rough-cut diamonds, which are then polished and exported to the US. That is a big-ticket export item to America. A quarter of India's exports to America, about $6.5 billion, is in gems and jewelry. So there's pharmaceuticals, gems and jewelry, refined petroleum. These all face the highest risk because of established US domestic production capabilities. And this is without even going into software exports, which are a huge item of export from India to the US. In fact, in the fiscal year 23-24, India exported up to $200 billion of software products and services to the United States. India also has a problem with the H-1B visas. There are very limited numbers, 65,000 or so, which are issued every year, a bulk of which, more than 2/3 of which, are cornered by Indian IT companies. That too is a pet peeve in the Trump administration. So India-US merchandise trade restricted to just goods alone, reached over $93 billion in the first 9 months of 2024, from April to December. Indian exports to the US grew by 5.5% to almost $60 billion. The top category of products that are being exported from India to the US is refined petroleum at $18 billion. India has consistently reduced its dependence on cheap Russian oil, which it had procured in a massive way since the beginning of the Ukraine war. Right now, Russian oil accounts for less than a quarter of India's oil purchases, and Trump will be hoping that purchases from American oil companies would move further up into double digits. I want to go across to the president of the US-India Business Council to try and understand this whole tariffs business, which could become a big talking point in the Trump and Modi meeting. Atul Keshap, President USIBC, is now joining us. Thank you very much, Ambassador Keshap. Let me start with you. This is Prime Minister Modi's first visit to the Trump White House in Mr. Trump's second term. It's at a time when, global relations are shifting. We've seen Mr. Trump's White House issue tariffs on a whole bunch of countries, on Canada, on Mexico, on China. What is the significance of Prime Minister Modi meeting with President Trump so early in his second term? I believe he'll be the fourth guest, fourth head of government to be visiting the White House just in the last 3 weeks that Mr. Trump has been president in his second term. Specifically on the issue of trade and tariffs, how does India navigate this?
So, Zakka, first of all, let's just take a moment to appreciate the fact that Prime Minister Modi is one of the top world leaders to come and make an early call on President Trump in this new administration. We've only had the prime ministers of Israel and Japan. We'll have the king of Jordan today, and then Prime Minister Modi. And that's really quite a reflection of Prime Minister Modi's relationship with President Trump and the regard, frankly, that I think the American people have for India. So let's celebrate that, and then let's move on to the agenda of the discussion. Obviously, we have an enormous amount that we view in common. We have shared strategic perspectives on the Indo-Pacific, on Africa, on the Indian Ocean, Pacific region, Latin America, and Middle East. And so there'll be a lot of discussion about the strategic convergence between Delhi and Washington. But there's also going to be a lot of talk about the economy, because India and the United States are two of the most vibrant economies on earth. We are growing well. We have large, diverse populations. We have an enormous, broad, well-developed economies, and we need to keep that going. It's important that that winning streak be sustained. And so what I hope is that both leaders will have ambition for the relationship between the United States and India, and that they will take bold steps toward maybe even some form of trade agreement that would facilitate the growth of our relations. In truth, trade relations between the U.S. and India are a little bit stalled out on a plateau. They haven't been growing very fast. They need innovation. They need opening up. They need some reforms. And this is where I think the two leaders can inject a lot of ambition if they have the kind of conversation I expect they will have, which is an honest, friendly, direct, open conversation about issues that constrain our trade and economic relationship.
President Trump has expressed deep concerns, even in the past, about India's trade high import duties on American products. In fact, in his first term, he publicly talked about the Harley-Davidson motorcycle and how India had, sky-high tariffs. India has progressively brought down the tariffs on motorcycles, for example. Even in the recently concluded budget, the duties have been reduced down to 30%. What are the areas and what are the specific sectors you believe India can address this trade imbalance issue? India currently has about a 30 billion or so trade surplus with the United States if you were to go by the first 9 months of the fiscal year 24-25. What are some of the specific sectors where you believe India can be seen as offering some concessions to President Trump? Because clearly this is a very, very important issue on his agenda for President Trump when it comes to the use of tariffs against what he feels are unfair trade practices across the world.
There are concerns expressed by President Trump and many of the senior leaders in this administration that India still has very high structural trade deficit. Now, that may be for reasons of consumer preference, but there's also a feeling being expressed in those circles that India has very high tariffs, it has very high non-tariff barriers, and it has other forms of what some regard as protectionism that don't facilitate the growth of free trade, especially between the United States and India. So my hope would be that when friends meet, and these will be friends who are meeting, friends who have due regard for one another, that each side can bring to the other its concerns about hindrances or limitations that restrict the growth of trade and investment and economic innovation between our two countries. If anything, President Trump has talked about unleashing the animal spirits of the United States and increasing our economic growth, making us a more efficient economy. I would like that to happen in India as well. And I think that Prime Minister Modi, who has a very strong track record of reform and opening up and restructuring in India after its socialist era, will also look at ways that we can really unleash the animal spirits of India and Indian innovation and of the Indian economy and the Indian people. There's a little too much, as I said, sort of ossification in how we view trade with one another. And we're two of the most dynamic societies on earth. So why must we remain content with what we have? I would say that we should present our concerns with each other on trade and on skilled immigration and whatever the issues are related to non-tariff barriers or obstructions in either direction, and then work toward breaking those down for the benefit of our people and our companies and our investors. And on this, I'd like to make another important point. I believe that Indian companies in America are not only respected and welcome, they hire, they pay taxes, they upskill our workforce, they increase our competitiveness, they enhance our capabilities, and I think they are welcome. If you look at all the governors who roll out the red carpet for Indian companies in America and the treatments that they get, and I would like that to be the same for American companies in India. Okay. And I would hope that Indians would view American companies, many of whom have been there for decades, as helping lift India's game and make India more competitive and more capable on the global stage, so that India doesn't have to, hide behind protectionism and tariffs, but can actually unleash itself in ways that are good for the Indian people and good for growth in India.
Ambassador Atul Kashyap of the US-India Business Council, thank you very much for joining us here on Brass Tacks. Thank you.
So much to reset in India's ties with the US now under Trump, so much at stake in the PM's upcoming visit to Washington. Migration, legal and illegal, the tariffs you don't want here, the truce you do there. That question, make in India, make in America. Join me in Washington DC here on CNN News 18 in tracing the political twists and the economic turns waiting to unravel. Rise above.
Viewers, should any institution of the Indian state be incentivizing the flow of illegal immigrants into India? What attracts illegal immigrants? Viewers, an easy environment, a permissive environment, allowances, the surety of a state that is welcoming. And therefore, viewers, the answer to the question is no.